The Downfall of Gaming by Micheal Pellittieri. The following is a presentation which explains all the multiple ways in which gaming has not only taken a turn for the worst, but is basically the main reason why so many people have mixed opinions on whether or not games are healthy or good for people, and whether or not addiction or hobby is really the best way to describe them. But at the end of the day, it really depends on the design of the game and if the game has certain aspects that are being done for things that can actually improve a person's personality versus making them into a complete negative in every aspect possible, being a social outcast, being lazy, all the bad stereotypes that apply to a gamer. A very, very good example of this is the following clip you're watching right now. In this clip, a person is playing the current version of World of Warcraft between BFA and the outcoming of the new expansion Shadowlands, and in the clip you can see he's able to pull as many mobs as he wants. His mana bar, which is the blue bar under his green health bar at the top left, basically never goes down, in which case he can just heal himself infinitely. And this isn't such a big deal if you're at level 1, but if you keep leveling up and this exact same thing is always there, then there really is no necessity to learn to strategize or actually become good at a game. And this is basically applying to a lot of games like Call of Duty, even Forza, racing games, action games, adventure games. Games of all types and genres are starting to gain this exact same issue. Effort versus reward is one of the main topics to talk about. In the following clip, you see a person playing the game Forza 4. And of course, the best car in the game is a car pack car. Now, it's one thing if a game requires you to buy things to catch up or to get a head start if you don't have as much time on your hands to play, but it's an entirely different case if the best items in the game you can only buy, as in no matter how much you play the game, you can never earn anything. That means what's the point of actually having to level up or make progress with something you use? Another aspect of gaming is the lack of story. You see, when a game has a good story, it allows a person, as an individual, to gain character. It might be something that you would otherwise gain from a book, movie, or TV show, but if a game has a good story and has a lot of characters, meaningful, giving life lessons, the person can actually gain character by playing a video game. But if a game has lack of story, then this basically creates nothing but a person who's constantly hinging on entertainment and mental stimulation that has no thought to it at all whatsoever. In the following clip, you'll see one of the most nonsense games ever. A game that for many, many years was considered extremely popular, a loving story, and a loving franchise character, Metal Gear Solid Snake. This character is beloved. He's in the Smash franchise, and this game series has been going around for over 20 years. And yet, in the most current adaptation of the game, which is supposed to be like the whole conclusion to the story, supposedly, it is Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, and the game's story makes absolutely no sense. It was the first time where I looked on YouTube and the whole internet, I couldn't find any real explanation for this game's story. I mean, there were explanations, but most of them were just people who were sarcastically pointing out that the game made no sense, but they basically just took the time to describe what each scene was happening. This game is a perfect example of what I like to refer to as the Phantom Mystery stereotype. It is a strategy in which the author of the game tries to put in little hints everywhere to make you think that there's some big conspiracy theory to figure out, but in reality, the person has just gotten away with writing absolutely no story whatsoever, and the player gets to the point where he pays so much attention to the visuals and the cool, stories and violence and running around shooting stuff and the big explosions that he forgets it, and the person doesn't build any character at all whatsoever. Easily, possibly the worst thing, especially when it comes to the fact that modern day gaming has esports, an actual competitive aspect, is the theory, and it's now being proven, that these games are actually rigged. Having special handicap systems implemented in multiplayer competitive games that actually rig players based on their skill. such as your hit detection, your health, your hitboxes. In this, what you can text at the top right, you can see what is referred to as a COD patent, explaining multiple examples and different variables and little tiny edits that happen mid-game that affect your fire rate, your health, how much players' aim must be accurate. To make things even worse, the games will actually rig your game in a certain way to make you more susceptible to want to buy more overpowered content, which relates back to having to pay to win, because if the best items are items that you have to buy, and if the game only works properly once you buy those items, then this makes you get more of an addiction to want to spend more money on every best weapon, or car, or anything in-game that you might use to help you play better. But if there is anything that can definitely be considered the worst aspect of how gaming is dying, it's the social aspect. In this game, World of Warcraft, to repeat again, what you see is the collective group of almost over 40 people in guild chat and 40 people playing a raid all together, playing together, needing each other's back, and actually having strategy and paying attention to what happens at a very, very high level of nuance, but not just nuance of being good at the game, an actual social construct in which people have a life together. While it may be a video game, it's still people talking together, working together, actually having to go out and find people to play with in the world of an MMO. And this isn't just MMOs, it's any game in which you actually have to play with people and talk with them and actually gain social construct in your mind to become a more social person for when you go out into the world in real life. You might be someone who's a social outcast when you're younger, but this might help you be prepared for when you get older. And not only that there's such a social aspect, you can see how happy people are when they actually finish something. Just the simple aspect of finishing something together makes people react in such a way that shows the wholesomeness of a gaming community where people actually have fun and laugh together and rage together, whether it be angry or happy or sad. And what is World of Warcraft like now? Well, it's basically Warcraft within World of Warcraft. Warcraft was the older version of World of Warcraft before the game was a massive multiplayer game. And while the story might be good, this doesn't really have any place in an MMO, because if it gets to the point where the entire story of the person playing is within a massive multiplayer game, why not just let it be a single-player game that you pay for one time? In this clip, you can see that there are hundreds of NPCs who help the player kill the boss, quest through the game, and you really don't have to do much of anything. You get a sense of accomplishment within a game that you're basically wasting months and months of money on. Everything is just a complete mess of things done for you. You don't have to explore. You don't have to talk with anyone. You get more social activity with AI than you do with real people. In conclusion, at the end of the day, if games take a downward spiral in all of these different aspects, what you're left with is the most worst possible stereotype of you being a fat man at home, celebrating your birthday by yourself, with no friends, no social life, lazy, constantly looking for entertainment, with no sense of accomplishment at all in your life, and everything that people say in the negative aspect of gamers becomes true about those people if every game spirals down these multiple downward paths. If there's no earning in a game, there's no reason to play the game in a strategic way, to build brain. If there's no reason to be with other players, you gain more of a social aspect from AI, and then both aspects of a game now really are replaced by the virtual world and not real life, not just the functionality part where you're still talking with real people. If every game is just paying to win, what's the point of actually trying to progress in the game rather than just pay one time and then basically there's no reason to earn anything? You become a very, very instantaneous person who always wants something for nothing, and it can apply in real life, and which leads to those unhealthy aspects that so many people stereotype to people. If gaming continues down this path, then it will create a world in which every negative stereotype of gaming becomes true, and then your parents won't want you buying a console when you really see all your friends playing together and having fun.